It's interesting because we had a pretty good turnout. The first.
Here's this timing.
What?
Yeah, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
We sure can't. You're muted.
I am not talking. I was away from my desk and it is not 11 o'clock yet.
When you're early, that means you're on time.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, where's your Akom Kese background?
It is coming. All right.
Don't put my fat on like that.
Thank you, Andrea. Listen to her. Looking out. All right. All right.
So we'll just have to take a pass for this one. I have to set it up on this computer for this login. So we'll have it together the next time.
Your den area looks like I could have a cup of tea and just browse through all of the books. I love it.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
I love it.
I appreciate you. Got some on the other wall too.
This
I'm
is
sure
the
y'all do.
haven. Voila,
Did I got it? I got it. Okay. All right.
got it.
Look at
That
that.
is better than mine. I look all nice and clean.
All right. I've got 11 o'clock. And so, did you already start recording?
We're recording.
Okay. Greetings. On behalf of the Akom Kese, I give praise to Mother Earth, the Abusum, and our ancestors. Welcome to another edition of the Akom Kese lecture series. I'm Yao Tyus, and I'm a board member of Akom Kese, and once again, I'm also your MC for today's gathering. Our lecture series is an extension of the work that culminates with our major conference every August. And during this conference, we gather to foster camaraderie, fellowship, and networking. We create, maintain, and strengthen friendships and familial connections. We share wisdom, knowledge, and information that facilitates cultural growth and expression, and we showcase members of the Akom community and the Akom community. If you'd like more information about Akom Kese, you can find it at akoncenter.org. That's akoncenter.org. That's AKAN center.org. Today's topic is Black femininity in America, the educated Black woman. What is education? Is college valuable? Is university attendance a given for the growth of the African and the African woman? What is work? Does the African woman have to define herself through a profession? And should all of this be reconceived? We'll talk about these topics and much more today. But before we dive in, a quick little bit about me. I'm a husband, father of 5, and a proud son, brother, and friend. I also have a weekly blog where information is published that supports readers with creating a loving culture in their relationships. And in addition, we have a weekly call for sisters on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and one for brothers on Thursdays at 7 p.m. It's called Creating a Loving Culture in Our Relationships. So information can be found at franklove.com. All right, let's get going. Before I introduce everyone, I'm gonna ask the brothers quickly to share something that honors feminine energy or our women. So Kwao first. please share with us a thought or a sentiment that honors feminine energy.
Yes, greetings, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's very difficult to address that question without sounding cliche, but it is what it is. You know, before there's anything, there is feminine energy, and it's the essence of where we come from, and it's what we have to appreciate, what we have to value, and what we have to cultivate. And to the extent that we don't manage that well, we mismanage our lives. So I believe that femininity is the essence of life, and you have to very carefully honor it, and cultivate it. And to the extent that you don't, you're perilous, you know, and you're a wanderer. So that's my, you know, fundamental belief about femininity.
Thank you. Kwesi, what you got?
Alert
a
from no
cosign
backups for 27 days.
with Dr. Vital as well. I think best way to honor feminine energy is to understand that women are better suited to do things that men cannot do. That within itself encompasses who they are. This is who they are and what they do. And without that, then you don't have us. So I think, you know, honoring that energy is to understand that there are some God-given things that women are capable of doing that men just can't touch with a 10-foot pole. And not acknowledging that, not understanding that, push you at a deficit.
Thank you both for opening with those sentiments. We've got a great panel today. Is there a relationship between feminine energy and being a woman? If so, what is it? I'm gonna throw that question out there, just and somebody grab it and do something with it.
Go ahead, Auntie.
Is there a relationship between femininity and being what'd you say, a woman?
Being a
Or the-
woman.
Absolutely. I mean, in how we present, just our essence, you know, the way we walk, you know what I'm saying? The way we respond, just on a basic level, we are totally different from men. You know, I'm gonna say this, and I don't mean no harm, but it's just what it is. Y'all know me. I just see things and I say things. I see and say. When there is a man or a male present and he's not demonstrating masculinity, you know, if he do something that's too soft, we like, hold up a minute. That's a little too feminine. You know what I'm saying? Just in the essence of how we walk, how we talk, how we present ourselves, how we posture ourselves, is all femininity. And believe it or not, we see it when it's misappropriated, or we see it when it's not projected from a female. It's so much of who we are. We can see it when it ain't matching up. Y'all know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
You know,
you can see it a mile away.
I'm trying to be politically correct, but y'all know exactly what I'm saying. We know when femininity ain't where it's supposed to be. We're like, hold up, that's a mismatch. 1 + 1 is not equaling 2 right now. That
But is it necessarily not where it's supposed to be? Because wasn't our last talk about femininity within the man as well?
well, we know we have both, but
When it's extra,
when you know that
It's
it's
out of
like
balance.
it's out of balance.
yeah.
To be, you know, when you are, this is my belief of, you know, how nature set things up before, you know, the manipulation of nature, okay? Before that started to happen, we knew that women and men shared testosterone and estrogen. But the biological makeup, your genitalia and your organs that you were created with gives you more in association with that natural buildup that God gave you. So that doesn't take away from the fact that, yeah, I know I have masculine energy in me. And there's a time when I need to demonstrate that masculine energy. And there's a time when I need to be all feminine. You're right. So that, let's not get into those semantics, because that confuses things when we start talking, well, we got it both. We understand that. But to be woman and to be feminine, when it's misplaced or unbalanced. And we are the first ones to say, nope, that's a problem. Or, if a brother comes up to us and he has too much, we're like, you just a little bit, that ain't what I'm looking for. You know what I'm saying? I need a little bit more testosterone. I appreciate you in contact and touch, but I need some, you know what I'm saying? Am I by myself on that, or I'm pulling this out?
No, you're right. You're absolutely right with everything that
That's
you're
the
saying.
naturalness of us. So we just are natural. If we are in tune with ourselves and we can't separate the two. That's what I'm trying to say. They're inseparable. Being female and being feminine are inseparable unless there is some unbalance, and unless there's some unbalance in my perspective.
No cosign on that.
You're muted.
That's-
Are we?
that's-
All
yeah.
right, so we're already getting it going. Our first panelists are a couple, and they are being presented as a unit. They first met as undergraduates at Fisk University and been married for over 25 years. They have 3 children and are now in the empty nester phase of their relationship. Their eldest has her master's degree in theater and dance. Their middle child is completing her RN at Albany State, and their youngest is in his 2nd year at Rhode Island College. They're both successful in their own rights. She's a court-appointed referee who oversees orders of protection, child custody, paternity, and guardianship matters in the New York State Family Court. He's a PhD, a chemist, and a semi-retired professor and university administrator who currently runs Recycle for Education, a nonprofit organization dedicated to environmental education and justice issues. They've shared that their marriage has surely had its ups and downs, but their dedication to family has made them stronger and better as a unit. Both understand the significance of being role models for their children and the important role that each of them plays in the lives and development of their children and other children within the community. Please welcome Dr. Kese and Mrs. Andrea Omoa. Kese. Okay. I'm gonna go to Andrea. Andrea, you are by any definition an accomplished professional woman.
Yes.
I have heard you say publicly that in your younger years, and when you and Kese were together, before you all were married, that you followed your husband from one school to the next. And I believe you were referencing from when you all were at Fisk to when he went to Howard.
Yeah, I was in love. I was young. I was in love.
Okay, before you mess it up, yeah, admittedly, I loved hearing you share that publicly. It spoke to you valuing your husband and you valuing your partner at the time. So
yeah, he didn't even know it. He was my husband before he knew it. I knew it.
right, there you go. You saying you
That's
value.
a feminine energy thing.
That's
you know what I'm
feminine
saying?
energy.
Yeah.
That is.
Valuing
That
him,
is.
yeah.
I knew he didn't even know he was being pursued. He didn't even know it was our destiny. I knew.
All right, okay. I might have to just shut up because you're just giving it all up. You're giving us exactly what we need. So the question is, as a professional Black woman, how do you feel so comfortable sharing that you value your husband? Now that's almost sounds crazy, but I mean, I think it's a reasonable question given some of the challenges in the family ethos these days.
Yeah, it's hard. And, what I've come to realize is the more that I say it, the more haters I get. And I don't understand that. And then, you got to fall back and you just have to be quiet sometimes because not everybody's always in your corner. And, You know, that's one thing I never realized. You know, I'm quick to say my husband this, my husband that. No, my husband got 4 jobs. I don't need to work. I work because I choose to work. That's my feminine energy and I love it. But that came over a process. You know, when I was young and when I was in school, you know what? I can even go back to when I was first about to get my own law practice. I actually became an associate of somebody who was very well off in the community and had an established law practice. And one of the things Kwesi
Male or
did,
female?
it was a female.
Okay.
And Kwesi supported me, you know, go ahead and start your business and do what you have to do. And it was great in theory. But when it came down to it and it was taking me away from the home, even though he supported me there, he needed my feminine energy and my aura in the house. Every Saturday, I would get up at 6 a.m. and I would be back by 10 a.m. every single Saturday. So I was back before the kids were up and ready to go. But he was still missing me during those 4 hours. Even though he was in bed, I was not in bed with him. So while he was supporting me and pursuing the things that I wanted to do, that female energy was missing in the household. And if it was missing in the household, it was missing as a part of him as well. So, you know, sometimes you have to fall back and do what you have to do for your family. And that's part of feminine energy, knowing what you need to do, knowing the sacrifices you need to make for the betterment of your family. So now I can be in a position to where I'd be like, I don't want to work. And he can take care of it.
Would you say a little more about the process of awareness around being a professional and honoring feminine energy and honoring masculine energy?
I think the mistake that a lot of us make is thinking we can have it all. We can't. We can't. Well, put it this way. We can't have it all at the same time. There's a time and there's a place for everything. And if you know yourself and you know what's important to you, where family goes and where work goes falls into place. What is important to you? So if your career is important to you, then you're going to clash with your family life because that's what you want. But as a woman, if I want my family to grow, my family to be okay, that's where my energy lies. And once you're honest with yourself, wherever it is, your life will flourish.
Okay.
Chime in real quick, y'all. When I was a dean at Onondaga Community College, and I used to tell my female colleagues, like, you know, my wife, she prepared lunch for me, or she set out my clothes, or she did something on that energy. They would look at me sideways and like, what are you talking about?
My son is looking at me sideways, putting out his clothes or fixing it. Like, Mom, Dad can't get his own clothes. Well, I like to get his clothes.
Like, even now when we travel, like, I don't pack my clothes. Not that I can't do it, but when I do it, it's a problem. So I'm like, you know what? Have fun at it. You do your thing, and whatever you put in the suitcase, that's what I'm gonna wear.
That's what I'm aware. Got it. Andrea, I'm gonna back up. And what do you say? And mind you, if anything, because you may not say anything, what do you say to a woman who who values her career more than her family, and is clear about that?
I've have a couple of friends that are like that now. And the only thing I can tell them is that your family will suffer. And it's going to crack and it's going to crumble, and then you're going to end up picking up the pieces. So if you want to do your career, that's fine, but understand that your family are going to suffer the consequences of you putting all of your focus and time towards your career. But a lot of them, well, 2 of them that I know are just like, well, I'm doing this so they can have this later. But what they don't seem to understand is that later is not going to be how you envision it because you're not there now. And I encourage them. I was like, I understand this is where you want to go, but understand that every choice you make has consequences. And if you're okay with those consequences and you think that you can catch up later, then you're wrong, number one. But that's the choice that you're making. So understand the ramifications of those choices because they're going to be there. I mean, I went to law school. I left my family. I left New York and went to Texas for 3 years. That was one of the hardest decisions I had to make, was leaving my family to pursue what I wanted to do.
Was that with 1, 2, or 3 children?
3 children.
3.
Three
Wow.
children, I left them. Now,
And during that time, I had a totally different respect for her and the job that she does as a mother and with dealing with those kids. So from getting them up in the morning, taking them to school, to bathing them in the evening, it was, you know, being a single parent, I don't wish it on nobody. It is a tough job. And, you know, for those single mothers that are going through that, I tip my hat off to them, but it's a lot. So, but that also, me experiencing that and dealing with the kids, you know, being their primary caregiver from sun up to sundown, it's a lot of work, you know, leaving my job, coming back to get them from school, then taking them back out to work with me, you know, all those type of things. It's a lot.
And what were their approximate ages?
5, 7, and like 9, I think at the time.
no, I think it was 7, 5, and 3.
Gracie wasn't that young. Gracie was in
We're going
school.
with her.
She was in school.
We going
Oh,
with her.
Well, I don't know.
No,
No.
all the kids were in school. No, no.
If they were all in school, so
it wasn't
kindergarten,
three,
it had to
three,
be
5
kindergarten.
at 3 years old.
Yeah, because I remember he sent me a picture of him riding. I was in law school my first year, and he sent me a picture of Kwesi riding his bike for the first time. And when you talk about being crushed and broken, that's my only male. That's my only son.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are the sacrifices that I made. And technically, there are a little ramifications because they throw daggers. They threw daggers when I came back. That distance, even though I came back at least once every other month or something like that, they felt that distance. And if now granted, we went through our problems, but if we weren't as strong, it would have fell apart. But he supported me 100%, and it would not have been done, and it wouldn't have made it without his support.
Wow. What did your friends say when you shared that sentiment? What did your friends say about
crazy? You better watch your man, because if you're not there, someone else gonna pick him up.
No, not about that. What did your friends say when you shared with them the potential ramifications of putting your career before your family?
Like I said, they don't see it. And I've told them that, because even though my ramifications were minute because I had the complete support of my husband, it's still there, but they can't see it. They just see, and you know why they can't see it? Primarily because they're by themselves. They don't have a significant other or the child's father in their lives to say that, okay, even though you want to make this a better life for them, if you're not in their lives, it's not going to balance out. That same balance that Amma was talking about earlier, it falls into that too. But they don't see it because they don't have a significant other to lean on. For them, it's like, I have to be this so they can have this. And what I stress to them is they should have you rather than material things.
Kwesi, you kind of you've already both of you've already taken the conversation where I was going to go with a question for Kwesi, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. And you provided significant support to your wife becoming a professional, a quote unquote professional woman. So would you share a bit about what you did and may still be doing, and what made her worthy of that level of support? And mind you, I'm not saying any wife isn't worthy. I believe they're all worthy.
Okay, good, because I was about to say something, but you cleared that out.
Some of them ain't worthy. Some of them ain't worthy.
All right, I got my myself clear. So Kwesi, back to you. What you got?
I think My thing is, if you want to do something, why not support what you're doing? What you're doing is talking about making the family better, making yourself, but this is your dream. This is part of your role as a husband, is to support your wife in terms of what she wants to do and accomplish. So it's not about, oh, it's all about you and what you want to do. Well, what do you want to do? We're building together. We're building a family together. So if this is what you want to do, and this is, we talked about it. She could have went to CUNY Law School. She got accepted to some other law schools. I'm the one that actually said, look, for something like this, you need to go away and focus on what you got to do. So going through grad school, finishing up your doctorate degree, that's something that you need to focus on. Going to professional school, you need to focus on that. You're not going to be able to do it with kids. And not to say that you can't do it, because women have done it all the time in terms of, but you went to, because Toro was right down the street. You got
Yeah, I
accepted to
got
Toro,
Toro too.
which was right down the street from us. But I was like, no, you need to go away and focus specifically on your career, and I'll do what I got to do. So as a husband, as a man, that's part of your role, or at least in my mind, it's part of your role in terms of supporting your wife, your career goals and aspirations. And I wanted her to be in a position that if I leave, or when I die, I'm gone or whatever, that you're still in the position to be able to take care of yourself and do the things you need to do so that everything continues.
But you got a life insurance policy, baby.
And
That's
you're gonna
good.
the kids getting most of it.
Okay, the one thing that you said that stands out supremely for me is support. The concept around support, and I believe that many of us do not start the conversation with how can I support you. We often start with I don't think that's a good idea, or whatever. But the spirit of I'm here to support your dreams, and that's a big deal. That's a big deal for every couple, for every relationship, for every person in the relationship. I know I haven't introduced Dr. Vital and Ama, but out of the four of you all, do any of you all have anything to share about that?
Say what you just asked it again.
Is the concept, the spirit of I am here to support you. I'm here to support what you want to do. I'm gonna start there. How does that resonate with you?
I think for us, we've always had that.
Yeah, that was always from the
never
jump.
Even
Even
when I
with
went
dating.
through my training, as an Akom, the support was there because that's grueling. I'm gone long hours. She's with the kids. That's always been us. It's never been like, I'm not going to support you. It's never been that. That's never been part of the ethos, not part of the language that we've already talked about.
Very nice.
I would say the same thing here. Support has always been a
pillar.
something that we both knew that's what we were here for each other. But I will say, and being transparent, that was not the mindset in my heart. That's what I knew I wanted to do. But in the carrying out of it, I will say that I've not been 100% supportive, not because I did not want to, but the support that I was given was not necessarily the support that was needed.
Yeah, I was waiting to see if he was gonna be.
Oh, I'm here to tell no lies. I'm here to tell no lies.
Waiting to
Okay,
see if he was gonna be real about that. I was
I'm
like,
going to be transparent, right?
I was
Say more.
wondering if she was gonna be starched with it.
No, I'm not going to switch up. I am who I am.
Yeah.
And that is just one of the things that somebody put in the comments I was just reading, but that's true. So we have a lot of learning that we've learned. And my course is to unlearn the stuff that I've learned, because it has not been beneficial, especially for the mate that I have been blessed with. The learning that I was given was not for this man. you know,
Mm.
man versus a rigging, spelled backwards, you know what I'm saying? They two different things, right? So I was given coaching for the rigging and not a man. So I tried to bring that coaching into this relationship and it wasn't working because this man is like, listen here, I'm a man and I support you. And, he had to help me understand like, wow, there is a difference. This is not the same. 1 and 1 is not 2. So when I started to understand that, then I started to be able to give the support that I had in my heart that I wanted to give, but the support that matched what he needed. Because like you, Andrea, the same thing. My morning ritual is helping my husband get out the house. You know what I'm saying? Ironing clothes, fixing lunches. When he worked at Howard, it was so, let me tell y'all something. The old folk, they gonna tell it. Them old women, when they see the right thing going on, baby, they gonna scream to Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was this little lady named Miss Lewis. God bless her heart. Miss Lewis, she used to she kind of fixed up the kitchen in the dorm because when he was at Howard getting his PhD, I'm gonna talk about that, but we were all in the graduate quarters. We was there. So Miss Lewis used to look forward to those lunches every day.
She wanted to see what I had
Oh.
every day. She wanted to see what I had in my lunch. Let me see what you got, Jonathan. Yeah,
I love it.
those lunches. I love those lunches.
Now, I'm curious. One of the things that comes up that I think about is the possibility, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, the possibility of passive aggressiveness. And passive aggressiveness can be cool. So, Kwesi, when you mentioned Andrea packing your bags for, when you all go on vacation, or when she made it set out your clothes today, or when you mentioned just him eating what the lunches you used to make, there may be passive aggressiveness right there, and that's okay. Where Andrea, you might be saying, look, Kwesi, I don't like the way you dress, so we're gonna get you tight and we're gonna get you right. Is there any of that?
No, not because listen, Kwesi is probably the most basic, simple man on the face of this earth. All Kwesi needs is a mattress and a computer. And that's it. He's fine. But I mean, I let him be who he wants to be. But part of my feminine energy is to make him look more attractive, more together,
All right. I think there is some passive aggressiveness there.
No,
and
because
I'm not
listen,
saying it's
okay,
bad.
the passive aggressiveness
That's
will come. I tell him you can dress how you want to dress, but if you're coming with me, you're gonna wear this.
There you go.
That's it.
Don't argue with me. It's right there. But it's cool. And Alma, is there any of that? Is there any of that with you when you would make his meals? And once again, I'm not saying it's bad. It's actually welcome. When women make they step on it and say, hey, I want it this way. What you got, Alma?
I would say with now I don't pack his bags because y'all don't understand. This is Mr. Debonair over here.
See, and I have the complete opposite.
Listen,
Opposite.
honey child, this is Mr. Debonair. Okay, we packing 2 suitcases because he got to have 4, 5, 10 pairs of shoes because he don't know where
Yes,
he.
my brother. That's what I'm
With
talking
what
about. You gotta
outfit?
coordinate.
Listen, when I met him, I'm gonna answer your question, y'all. But when I met him, dynamics are so interesting, and your family of origin has a lot to do with who you end up with, believe it or not. You would not, for me, I could not have imagined picking out someone who has so much similarity to my father, because to me, my father, he wasn't really in my life. My father battled with drug addiction and things like that. But when I really got to really know my husband, I was like, hold up a second. I see some similarities here. Not in drug addiction. So y'all can get on off of that. I ain't talking about that. My father was a top tier dresser.
Mhm.
My father could, I'm telling you, hands down, could nobody touch him. I learned that he and his father were the best dressed in the whole city. They was like, listen, Jake, oh man, your granddad, and they just talk about my father. And I was like, and then I saw this joker getting ready one day. I said, you a prepper. You just like my daddy. It takes you hours to get ready. If you want him to be somewhere, you better give him 4 hours notice. Because he got to, I'm talking about, it's a whole production. And I was like, I didn't know it was like that. That's how my daddy is. Tell y'all a quick story. My father passed away, by the way, in 2020. But tell y'all a quick story. We reconnected and kind of, bridging gaps and making relationships right from a standpoint of my coming into a different wisdom of, what had happened to me growing up. So my father came and he came to stay with us. And I wanted him to start having experiences about life because he had a rough life. So I'm having this life with my husband and the children. So I wanted him to kind of understand what that feels like and for him to be a part of that. So he came and he lived with us. Our oldest son, this is in 2015, was graduating. Now we live an hour from the school. So, we going against DC traffic, but still traffic. And I'm like, okay, we got to get out of here at this time. And I'm giving everybody their time so we can be ready. And I know my father. I'm telling you, I got him and my husband. So I'm managing like, listen, we got to be out. Man, listen, when I tell y'all, we ready. And my father standing around, he got on his A shirt and his suspenders and he just chilling. I'm like, what are you doing? We got to be on the road. But anyway, we were late and I was livid. I was mad because we were late you get down to the graduation to our son. And his father was here, the whole family was here. And tell him what your daddy said. I was like, Lord have mercy.
Said, I think Montina was upset with Dietrich, which is her father. He said, but he was clean though. He was clean. And he was clean.
Sharp, I'm talking about.
He may have been late, but he was clean.
So I wanted to say that to say, my instructions on how to be a wife or a woman were not what I am today. Totally opposite, right? So with the food, I have a blessing. I have blessed hands and mind for cooking, hands down. That's just what God gave me. That was my.
Your husband has not given like that. You got to nod at that, bro, or do something. Let's say.
I ain't worried about it.
Yeah, I do not.
No, I ain't worried about that. He knows, and most people who know me know. So that I didn't realize was my blessing for my husband, whoever he should have been at the time. I've been doing this since I was like 10 years old, like literally. And one of the family friends told me, he said, man, you're going to make somebody a good wife. And I was like, the hell? That was like, don't be cursing me. Like, what are you talking about? Because from what I had experienced, wasn't nothing good about being a wife. And it surely wasn't nothing good about a wife cooking and serving some man. I was like, nah, miss me with that. That was my energy and my attitude. So I tried to distance myself from that innate ability, that endowed skill that the Creator had given me. So when you talk about passive aggressive, this is where I'm going. He's a true man. He's a true man. He wants all that is intended for him being the man that he is, right? So I'm just giving y'all this picture. And here I am.
You're telling too much.
I'm telling too much. And here I am, a woman that's endowed with a skill set that every man wants, is to have a woman who can cook and this, but I missed the part. It ain't just the cooking. It's the cooking and the serving.
Oh, stop. Let us pray. Whoa.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Being real transparent.
Oh, no. Yeah. Hold it. I need a
We
moment of
just had this
silence.
conversation, didn't we? I went and bought the food with the crabs.
Listen, I'm quick to tell him that's not my job. That's not my job. And he's quick to say, I just bought the food, now you serve it. I was like, I don't want to serve it though.
Listen, sister, I'm with you. So that passive aggressive, right? I'm about to get on that because that's what, and you bring it up and I'm glad you do, because that passive aggressive was not good. That passive aggressive was not good because I would fix the food. I'm talking about y'all be thinking you at a 5-star restaurant. I'm not just bragging, but I'm telling you the level, because for me, if I kit this food out, you know what I'm saying? If I kit it out real good, then he shouldn't have no problem with getting it himself.
Ooh.
In my mindset, right?
So
In my mindset.
let me jump in real quick with a quick story. So one of the things that an elder, I won't say who it is, and I don't think he would mind, but he's not here, so I won't say it. He said when his wife used to cook, he may come in the house and say, he might say, "Hey babe, I'm home." And she would say, "The food's on the oven." And his response is, "And it'll stay there until you put it until you put it in front of me."
When I tell you every courtesy, every that's supposed to be extended, this is this brother.
Yeah.
Now,
Look, some sisters don't understand, and it's really Quasi, you and I have had this conversation where there's certain things that just we like. We like. If you like your feet rubbed, that doesn't mean I like my feet rubbed. But if I like put a plate put in front of me, that doesn't mean you like it. But it does mean I like it. And just because I like it is reason enough
To do it.
it's justification enough for you to do it.
right. So that's
Yeah,
where I
you're
am
right.
now. I wasn't there in the beginning. I'm talking y'all about my transformation. Hey, you gotta listen to me. I wasn't there. I was not there. We've been together for over 30 years. I wasn't there for a lot of years, like double-digit years, like with some twos in front of him.
See, he was holding on. He knew what was at the end of that rainbow.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm being really transparent, right? And he would reject that. He would reject it. I'm listening, y'all. This is the real deal. Holyfield over here. If sister got it hard, y'all say some prayers for sister when y'all praying, because I'm trying to get it together. I'm telling you. But he held me to the accountability that I needed to be held to. Because if it was any other man, I'm telling you, I would have ran circles around him, and I know that. Because he would have been okay with having a good meal being on the stove. This one here, I'll starve. And you're gonna have to deal with the feeling of not having your man fueled for the job that he has to go do. That's on you. That ain't on me.
Or get this, or he would easily, probably, and he and I have not had this conversation, he'd easily go out to get a meal, to buy a meal out. Because
We've had that happen before.
They go prepare it and bring it to him. For if that's no other reason.
That's exactly you hitting the nail on the head. So what I'm trying to transfer to everyone is that I wasn't there for a long time because I didn't understand. So I had to wash out that training that was given to me.
But like Andrea said, that I was very patient. I was impatiently patient,
Yes.
meaning by that I was persistent on the principle. But because of the value that I saw, I gave her time. Like, I'm going to stick it. I can see it in you. Let me just keep polishing. Let me keep working with it. Because I've always supported everything.
Absolutely. Every single thing, even when it was asinine, ass backwards, and didn't make no sense for the family.
Even when it didn't. Now, you have, boundaries like this is way out, but if it doesn't help the family, but doesn't hurt the family, okay, I'll support that. And okay, you want to pursue that, and because it's helping you to feel a certain way and helping you to get where you need to be, I have to do that. So I've always supported, ventures that she's had and professional pursuits that I didn't think were necessary, but she felt it and she was there and she wanted to, whether it was to try to build an equivalence with me. So she perceived that she needed to do. I'm like, well, you don't need to do that. You just don't want me to have it. Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, listen.
Let me
that's
help you
true.
with this paper.
Listen, yeah, because I'm an engineer. I got a certain brain that I work with, and I'm like, babe,
Yeah, you
I
trying to
got
hold me back. I was like,
so you know, I do math equations and I do calculus and all that. I don't really do no writing, so help me understand. And he did, you know, he
even
did.
though I didn't
Even though
believe
he
in
didn't
it, I was
believe, but
like,
that was
well,
something
this is
that-
what
yeah.
we have to do. So I said, I'll support her through it, you know. And
Once
you know,
again, support, the concept of support is a big deal. There, we got two comments that have been made. G, I'm gonna come back to your comment, but Rukia's comment falls right into what we're talking about right now. Now, Rukia is she's a nurse practitioner. So that's, you know, she's by anybody's definition, a professional woman. And she said, so many people have passed judgment of me serving my husband his plate.
Yep.
So how does, let's bring this back, the plate serving, and maybe who knows where the conversation is going to go, but the plate serving, should professional women not serve their man plates?
Absolutely not. Serve your man.
They don't have nothing to do with it. And I think it's a personal thing to the woman. Like my husband mentioned, at that point, I really felt like I needed this degree to be trying to mark up to some equivalency.
it was the advanced degree,
Right.
the master's.
Master's
She
degree.
already
I already
had
had a bachelor's degree.
in engineering.
And so, you know, not understanding my own value. That was the biggest problem. You know, when Andrea's talked about the single woman or the working woman feeling like she got to give the hand to the family and give praises to the job, that's a feeling that we feel we have to do. Because I've often said to my friends, your kids ain't picked out no tile. They didn't pick out this ceiling. They didn't pick out, because they'll say, well, I'm doing all so my kids can have this house. Them kids don't care. You can live in a 1-bedroom apartment as long as you spending time with them and then they know that you love them and you're there. They don't care nothing about the foyer. They don't care nothing about the damn marble on the countertop. And I asked her, said, what part of this house did your kids pick out? And she just looked at me like, oh, wow. I'm like, they ain't pick out not one thing that you have in this house. Therefore, they don't care. They just want to know where you are with them. And I'll give you an example of that. When the support that you're talking about, y'all, we had a similar situation. I had 2 things going on that was drastic in my life, in our life. I had just had Zenzele in 2000. I went into training in CONFO training in 2000. And I went into the freaking United States Army. Crazy, crazy changes. He was getting ready to take on his full-time, he was getting ready to have to be full-time at Howard for his PhD. So that meant that he was going to be away. And now I was going to be a single mama, married, but a single mother. And that meant I needed all kinds of supports in place because I had 2 children at the time. So the single mother paradigm was not resonating with me. So with the person that I am, I know I can put some things together and have a winning formula. So I went out, searched out, came back and sat down with him and said, I got a solution. What you think about this? I'm gonna go to the military. I'm gonna make sure that they don't send me nowhere. I'm gonna be close to DC area. And he was like, what? I was like 28 years old. He was like, what? I said, yeah, we're gonna get family housing. We're gonna have a community support. Because at the time, my thing was making sure that me and the children were okay, because we knew he was gonna be away and he had to go, like you said, Quasi, he had to focus on finishing, going to school and be focused, because you cannot do both successfully in a period of time that's going to really help. So at that time, my baby Zenzele was on baby. She was born in January. I went into the military in August. She was still nursing. So you talking about a time of separation, a time where I'm telling y'all, Zenzele would come see me 3 hours away, 2.5 hours away, and cry the whole way home. I mean, it was
bad.
rough.
Yeah.
It was very rough. She crying, I'm crying. It's just a whole hot mess. So when you talk about support, I mean,
And I'll say
whew.
this, and I'm Quasi, I'm piggyback. I had a similar experience that you have having to keep the kids, and I have a whole nother respect for women. And as a matter of fact, like I don't even tolerate when guys say to me and men say to me like, "Oh, I don't want to pay this child support," or I jump in them and own them. And because I have a groups that I do with men, and some of them have child support issues. And it's like, man, I don't know what that gonna do, and she gonna do. I don't care what she do with the money. She can go take that money and go get a purse. Her and her man now can go out with it. She getting anything as long as she caring for my kids. She can get anything. I don't care. She deserves to do whatever she wants with that. If she go gets her nails or go get a purse, whatever. That is a hard job. When you have them kids all the time with you, and you got to do everything with them. Oh my God. Man, so I'm like, any woman who that does it, you get my full support and respect. And whatever money you need, you can get it. So even if we ain't together, you can get it. So now I do not let men come to me with that. I don't want to pay child. I don't know what she gonna do with it. As long as you know, when you see your child, his nose is clean and he looks good, I don't care what she do with it. So you can get out my face with that. So no, I definitely know what you're saying about that. And so it took a lot for me to, you know, and my kids, when boy, they tired of to this day, pizza bites and mixed vegetables. That was my
No, wait.
pizza bites in the oven, get them little
Quasi
mixed
did
vegetables and mixed
banquet
vegetables.
meals. He did those little banquet meals. They can't stand those things.
Yeah, and to this day, they cannot stand the oldest two, they cannot stand the pizza bite. They, oh no, get that away from me. That was my go-to. I had to lean heavy on the pizza bites, baby.
Especially given that mom can cook. Oh,
Yeah, exactly. Boy, I feel sorry for them, you know, under daddy's care, you know, but I did
all right,
what
all
I
right.
could for
I'm
it.
way off. I'm off script. All right, so I gotta back up. Our second couple were also college sweethearts. They met at Tuskegee University in 1992 and married legally in 1999. They have 3 wonderful children, ages 26, 23, and 12, and are both spiritual practitioners of Akom, and they've been this for over 20 years. He is a licensed clinical neuropsychologist, as well as a certified clinical sex offender treatment specialist in the state of Maryland and Washington, D.C. He's also a clinical coordinator at the Center for Children at the St. Mary's location, which is a rural southern county in Maryland. He received his master's and doctorate in community psychology at Florida A&M University, and his doctoral level training was in neuropsychology at Howard University. In addition to his professional practice, he also has been a spiritual practitioner within the Akom tradition of the Akan people of Ghana, West Africa, for over 25 years. He and his wife currently have their own shrine house, the Asurjabi Ahemfi. He was installed as a brothel henny in 2003 by the elders of the Nana Surjabi Shrine in Kubiasi, Akwapem, Larteh, Ghana. And also he was made a member of the Council of Elders in America in 2021. And as a quick aside, before I want off script again, but you all have a festival coming up very soon. Please share the details of that festival.
Okay, thank you. So our Shrine House, the Surgery of Hemphy, we will be having our annual Nana Surgery Festival May the 28th, which is a Sunday from 2 to 7 p.m. at our home here in Waldorf, Maryland. The address is 2413 Altenburg, Altenburg Court. That's in Waldorf, Maryland. All is invited to come. If you need that information again, you can reach out to me. I'll give you my phone number. It's 301-653-8827. And thank you again, y'all, for mentioning that, because I would have never even remembered to say anything about it.
Give us that phone number one more time.
Sure, 301-653-8827. And that's for anyone that's interested in coming. You can reach out to me. I'll send you the flyer and information.
Okay, thank you so
Yeah.
much. And
Well,
also,
thank you.
go on.
No, I was just saying thank you.
Okay. And Onipa Abusia is having their Nana Asuabochapre Festival tomorrow, Sunday, April 23rd, 2023 at Restoration Plaza. And I believe it starts at 1 p.m. That address is 1368 Fulton Street, Brooklyn, New York. And everyone is warmly welcome. Once again, that's 1368 Fulton Street, Brooklyn, New York at 1 p.m. Okay, as I was saying, she's originally from the St. Louis area and migrated to Washington, D.C. and the Washington, D.C. area in 1977.
No,
She's
97.
1997. Yeah, okay. She served as an electrical engineer, a soldier in the U.S. Army, a personal chef with expertise in natural and alternative foods, and a financial services expert. Her mission is to help families realize that financial security is an essential must-have. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jonathan Vital, also known as Nana Abrafoheni Olakwesu Kwao Vital, and Okomfo Ama Montina Vital. Okay, we already getting our hands dirty. Ama, Okomfo
Yeah.
Ama. When you
Yeah.
hear the phrase, the answer is often in the simplicity. Please tell me what you envision as it pertains to being an educated Black woman.
Well, one who, well, look, I have two. So it was before and now, right? Because I must share where I was before. So before, when I would have heard an educated Black woman, that was a woman who had college degrees with an S, definitely was college educated, corporatized, making big money, being a boss, if you will, living life on her terms. Now what I see when I hear that is not necessarily college, because college doesn't necessarily makes you educated, but now one who understands the importance of who they are to the family, right? Because I am a brilliantly educated, my college degree, I'm not using that for my family. You know what I'm saying? I'm not at home with engineering and redoing that. No, but the things that I help my family with now is invaluable, and it had nothing to do with getting a college degree. The networks that I set up, the how I've helped my husband transform who he was in terms of how he put himself out there professionally for his own self, and our son, and how, I'm like, okay, he needs to do this, this, and this, and how he went overseas to do an internship in school, just the things that I do now that has to do with the home. That's where I see myself as a highly educated Black woman, because everything that I am giving to the family in terms of education, it's all about progressing the family and moving the family forward. It has nothing to do with them degrees I have sitting on the back wall back there.
I just have a quick question about that. Do you think your degrees actually assisted you in how far you can push your family to achieve certain goals? Don't you think the degrees that you actually have assist in that?
Not the degree, but the experiences of where the degree culminated from.
And could I add to that?
You know what I'm saying? Having the experience of pursuing the degree, the college, that higher level environment from where I came from, that has a lot to do with it. But the particular degree, and I'm speaking of it like that for a reason, because we sometimes pursue things because we feel like it's going to advance us. Well, for me, I pursued engineering because somebody put engineering in my mind, and I just happened to be equipped with what it took to be able to get it. But there was no real affinity for engineering.
And if I can
Yeah.
add to that and also answer his question, like you're kind of skipping over what you do now professionally. So now the profession that what she's really pursuing professionally now really, really embellishes the family and the paradigm of life that I have and the vision that I have for the family. It's like she has put the wheels on it with this financial services and insurance portfolios. That has tremendously undergirded the mission and the vision of the family and getting the children set up to understand and to actualize the process of generational wealth and wealth transference and legacy building and trust establishment. So what she does now professionally is wholly consistent with the vision of the family and is professional.
And I didn't
You
go
know.
to college. I just had to get a license. I had to take an exam and get licenses, but college was not a requirement.
So what she's establishing with the children in the family and other things that she also mentioned, advancing the children, that is very much consistent, with that versus the engineering, degree.
I was working on weapons, missile warheads, guys, on F-18s. That's
So
what
that,
I used to do. That's the brains that I used to use. That has nothing, absolutely, they paid me good money, but I was a professional. You see what I'm saying? I
Let
was
me-
a professional, but,
I want to back up to an early comment that G made, and he made this comment over a half hour ago. He said, it seems as sisters have heard from elder women that they have regret from not pursuing some of their own passions and interests and efforts to prioritize their family. There doesn't seem to have been enough balance in the stories they've heard women managing both successfully. What do
That's
you,
because you can't manage both successfully.
you
You
said
can't, you can't do it at the same time. Like I said, women can't have it all at the same time. You have to have your support. You have to move forward to excel in one thing. And then after you've done that, for me, would be my family. Then all the other things that I wanted to do professionally has come to pass. Like, I don't think I would be in this position now if I had gone full force then. And if I did go full force then, I probably would have had a great practice, but where would my family be? Where would my kids be? So your balance has to be there. And for me, it should be your family first, because everything else will fall in line when that's in order.
Let
me say a couple things. First of all, men have to make the same decision. Because I could have taken positions and done things that would have taken me out of and away from the family, and I would not have been able to put hands on, my children and my sons. And I chose not to do those things. And some of those things could have been a lot more lucrative, and sometimes I lament, like, hey, I could do this and I could do that, because I have like a father and brother, very successful. And so sometimes I look over in their lane like, I should have just did this and just went up, to the sky. But the way their family and the way my father was with his family, meaning me, I didn't want that, And so I said, well, I need to find the balance in being able to pursue at a high level, but keep it within scope and vision of what is most productive and beneficial to the family. So we have to make that decision, first. So we shouldn't just pursue anything just because it's a career and it promote. No, absolutely not. And the second thing is that what I noticed when in my profession, I had certain supervisors even before I was licensed, and these would be white women. And these would be older white women. And what I noticed, and I started to pay attention, to this pattern, where I would see that these women, they had not been in the field from their youth to the point that they are now. when I would talk to these women, I learned that they took a long sabbatical. They raised their children. So they got the initial degree, they stopped, raised their children, and then they came back after the children were set and settled. And I kept seeing this pattern, within how, these culture and race of women manage professional and life balance. And they seem not to have taken hook, line, and sinker, like, oh, I got to be a professional one. They value, being, a mother and a wife. And then when they could, like Andrea is saying, you can transfer that energy after, the wheels are off of the training wheels and the kids are up and going. And so they would come back into the field. I just found that unique and interesting. I kept seeing that pattern.
That was something that I was going to say, that, I've talked to white women, just real frankly, I've talked to white women, and that's one of the things that they do. They raise their family. They'll have degrees. You won't even know they have degrees until it's time for you to know, because they raise their family and they use their leverage that they've acquired this degree or whatever to benefit the family. Case in point, they will go work at the school cafeteria with a whole master's degree because that is what supports the family. And it's private school, so the kids
get
is
free
going there
tuition.
free. They are in the kid's life. They don't have that disconnect, latchkey kid syndrome where they got to work, go get the kid come from the bus at home by themselves to the parent come home. So they are actively in the kid's life in a very beneficial way that's overall beneficial to the family. And once I started seeing that, that's kind of what I was trying to position myself for. I'm like, I don't have to go and work for Boeing or whatever. Let me use and leverage whatever I can so that my children can have that same semblance. They'll go work at the college. We knew somebody, both of her kids went through Howard for free. She worked at the daggone desk, at the receptionist desk, and got both of her children through college for FREE. So it's about understanding, if we take that priority, like Andrea's saying, if we prioritize the family first, then I think we would have an easier go to where now when the children are not so dependent and we've gotten them to where they need to be emotionally, now we can go out and rock out,
I'm
That's-
curious. There's an internal conversation that that Dr. Vital, you really put your finger on, that I'm curious about with everyone and even the audience. How you all have this conversation. And that internal conversation is, what do I say to myself when I'm having the I shoulda, coulda, woulda conversation? And mind you, we all have it. We all wonder what would happen if we would have taken the other path. Yeah, I mean, many of us don't want to admit it, but we all wonder what would have happened if we would have married so-and-so. And, all of that's natural. But what internal conversation do you, and we'll go with you, Akom Ama, what internal conversation do you have when you having the I coulda, shoulda, woulda conversation about being an engineer or whatever your thing might be?
Funny, I don't have the woulda, shoulda, couldas about the engineering, because it was very stressful. It was so stressful. Them white folks was, man, and this was back in the early 90s. So when we wasn't really proliferating it like that. So it was a hot mess. And I don't have patience for that. I was about to get fired and kill a few folks and all that, because my patience is just, you're not going to be stomping me in the ground and telling me that you ain't doing it. No, I feel it, and you finna get some repercussions. So that it was time for me to exit that. But my shoulda, woulda, couldas is kind of weird, but it's about all the missed times. I told y'all I've been not measuring up to what I should be doing, to my greatness as a wife, as a mother, and just who I am for double-digit years, right? So my shoulda, woulda, couldas is really what I know that I could do for this man right here, where I can put him, because all of the skill sets that I have, I'm doing it now. So I'm setting up things now for him to flourish, because it's just right there. But I took time away from that, trying to get into things because I felt I needed to accomplish or have these professional accomplishments, when all I needed to do was put that energy and the creativeness and the mindset that I have, put it into what he already comes with, for that to flourish. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? So I wasted time over here knick-knacking for myself, because I felt like, and it's like now it's clicking, like ding, 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 because everybody has their thing. And the thing with me, I'm creative, and I always seem to meet the right people. I mean, am I telling?
No,
I'm just saying. And so it's like,
She's
I
right.
spent a lot of them. That's my woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Gotcha.
Then years of trying to make something for myself that really all I had to do was be who I am and just do it for him. And all the stuff that we should have been doing, and would have been right there. So that's my woulda, shoulda, coulda, for real.
And may I speak to it as well?
Absolutely. I mean, you already have significantly, but absolutely, whatever else you have going on.
Yes. So like for me, when I look at those things that, oh man, I could have did that, and I could have been earning like that, like what my brother and my father, I really kind of look, in their lane. And I'm like, okay, but I look at the totality of their family, how they've been in family, and I look at like my brother's family, I'm like, I don't want that now. I want this. So I have to refocus or recenter, like what I've built and what I've done, this is actually what I want. So, so that kind of erases the woulda, shoulda, coulda. I could have done this, and I could have, and so I refocused, and I began to continue to work with this sister about, hey, we can do this. I need you to help me do this, and we can have it all. We can have, what we have built, and we can have more, of a semblance of what we want. And she coming on board and realizing, like, yeah, I can use my acumens and talents, because she is brilliant. She's a very socially dynamic, enthusiastic go-getter. And she does meet people, and she does come across opportunities, and she can usher those my way, and like, oh, okay, when you start doing that, we start to benefit, versus what she was explaining before. She would just try to piecemeal something. Well, let me go out and do this, and let me go. I'm like, no, you're kind of fracturing the energy. And if you can culminate it all and concentrate it here, we can all benefit, and then you can do whatever it is that you want to do later as well, as we noted before, like when we see other, cultures of people, who do a similar thing.
Andrea, would you speak to what your internal conversations are around shoulda, coulda, shoulda, wouldas, and how you bring yourself back to the middle when you might think about I shouldn't have, or I should have, or whatever?
I don't have those moments. I mean, I did when I was younger, but that was before kids, and the only shoulda, coulda, woulda moment I would have is when I had an opportunity to go to Japan and teach English right after graduation. And Kwesi and I, we had a long distance relationship, I think my sophomore year in college. He was in grad school. So my senior year, it was like, okay, I have this opportunity. I have to go. And he pretty much said, if you go and you stay. I'm not going to be here when you come back. I was devastated. I was like, forget that. In my heart, I wanted to be like, forget you, man. I'm just going to go and do what I have to do. And it's Japan. It's a once in a lifetime situation. How could you not support me? We could, be long distance. We could support each other. He was like, no, I know what I cannot do, and I cannot do that.
Wow.
So just like, forget you. I'm going to go. And then I was like, no. I'm not doing it. I'm not losing this man. I'm
Right.
not losing this man. And that was the choice that I made. And you know what? Let me tell you how my husband is. Every now and again, if he's reading the New York Times or something like that, he's like, oh, look, there's a job in Japan teaching English. You want to go there? That is not funny. That is not cool. But that is only my shoulda, coulda, woulda. But it was when I was younger. I don't have that now because I see the beauty in my family. I see the success in my kids. I don't have that shoulda, coulda, woulda. The only other shoulda, coulda, woulda I had is, damn, we should have went on vacation last month too.
Okay, all right. Now, so what I hear you saying, Andrea, is that you bring yourself back to the middle, or you stay in the middle by just simply understanding that life is good. Life is good. You appreciate
And I'm comfortable with the choices I made. You know,
Yes.
hindsight is always 20/20 per se, but Kwesi has the saying, you make the decision with the truth that you have at the time, and that's
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And I can agree with that.
And I believe Kwesi is not available to.
Yeah, he's
I'm
here.
here. I'm here.
Okay, you want to weigh in on that, Kwesi?
Like I said, yeah, I don't really have any regrets, as such.
As such. Well, what is the such?
Yeah, as such. When you make the decision, like my wife said, with the information that you have at the time, and there's really no such thing as a bad decision. It's like based on the information that you had, you made this decision, and you can always look back at it with new information and say, well, I should have done this or I should have done that. But I think for me earlier on, and as I've heard other people say, it was a commitment to the family, and then understanding that, these lives that you've brought into the world, you're responsible for how they're going to be in the next generation. So there's really, it doesn't even become about you anymore. And I think that's something that Andrea and I realized early on in relationship. We got these kids to raise, and we got to be our best selves so that they can be their best selves. God sent them to us. The Abusum sent this to us. We have to help them through their purpose in life and the things that they got to go through. So, we have our issues, and we got to work through what those issues are. But I think overall, it's really no regrets.
Nice. I was talking to a very good friend of mine. This was years ago, and he was having some challenges. And I was wondering if there was something that I could have done. If there's something I could have done as a friend to help in the past, so that he wouldn't have been where he was at the time. And he said, bro, man, I picked my path. I am where I am. I picked my path, and I'm rolling with it. And those words meant so much to me to hear him say. Well, clearly I remembered it. And I think it's important that when we pick our path, we roll with it. And we don't know where it's going to take us, but we can commit to being 100% in it. And I also I think about, I see, like, I have a great deal of respect for Jay-Z. I like some of the things that he is able to do now, but when I look at some of the things he's able to do and he's done, I'm not envious of him, because I say to myself, I don't know his family. I don't know what his family is like. I don't know I don't know his relationship with his children. I don't know his relationship with his wife, but I do know my relationship with my children and my relationship with my wife. And those, I'm happy with mine. So when it comes to looking at other people, what other people have, we really don't know. And Dr. Vital said it. We really don't know what's going on other places. But we do know what's going on in our home. So as we navigate those coulda, shoulda, woulda conversations, or I wish. We can come back to the middle by just understanding we don't really know what's on the other side. We know what's here, and we get the chance to appreciate what's here. Any thoughts from the audience? Anybody want to unmute and chime in with a question or comment? Okay. The roles of a husband and wife are they're interwoven in this conversation we started with having about being a professional woman. And it's easy to, if you're a professional woman or professional man, it's easy to lose sight of what our roles are, the basics. Once again, simplicity. The answer is often in simplicity. It's easy to lose sight of what our roles are as a wife, a mother, when we become professional. Please, Andrea, what's your role as given you're a professional woman, but what's your role as a wife? And then what's your role as a mother?
Alpha and Omega. That's it. The beginning and the end. All thing goes through me. If I'm good, the family's good. Period. And at work, I have to deal with a whole bunch of Caucasian women. So that's a struggle every day.
And how do you, and in defining what your role is as a wife and mother, how do you allow yourself to be accountable? So how do you hold yourself? How do you hold yourself to a given standard? How do you allow yourself to be held by your husband to a given standard and by your children to a given standard? And I'm bringing this question to everybody.
Good. So I'm gonna say pass because I
Okay.
can't answer
Right.
that right now.
Okay, Quaceman, what you got?
Well, I mean, in terms of holding her to a standard as a woman, I mean, I understand. One of the things that she always says is like deference. That's the word she uses a lot in her law profession. Because as an attorney, that's something that they do for the judges or whatever. So one of the things that I do is I allow her to have that deference, especially when something is going on. But at the same time, she might be the alpha and omega, as she's saying, but as the man of the relationship, I'm steering the boat. And this is the direction that I want to go in. We will have a discussion, but as the man in the relationship, as the leader of the family, this is a decision that I take seriously. And because she understands and respects me, and she knows that I have her back, I'm not going to put her or the family in a situation. She'll respect the decision that I make for the family, although she might not necessarily agree with it.
Yes, my husband. Yes.
And what is your role as a husband and as a father? As a professional man also.
Provide.
Credit card, please. Credit card.
Provide, protect, and
Credit card.
yeah, provide and protect, I think, are definitely the major two. And then where I can do, provide that emotional support. So one of the things that my wife and I go back and forth with, especially with my son, is like he is a boy child. He's gonna be a man. We're not making him no pump. And I always tell her, take the titty out the mouth because he'll figure it out. She wants to hold his hand through everything.
Not everything.
Most things. Aren't you gonna go up there with him? He just bought a new apartment. No, let him figure it out. If he needs me, I'll be there. But but my primary two roles is provide and protect, without a doubt.
Akom Kese, what's your role as you're a professional woman? What is your role we'll start with as a mother. What's your role?
To be nurturing, guiding my children, those where, you know, guiding them and informing them when they are needed, when that's needed. Like he just said today, man, they sure do be calling you a whole bunch. Talking about the two older ones, you know.
All of them.
Well, yeah, all of them do. But this morning it was our daughter calling at 8 o'clock in the morning. Talking about, you up? Yeah, I'm up now. If I wasn't. But just continuing to be available emotionally and is the number one. Nurturing looks different as they get older. You know, it could be just being on the phone listening to them babble about stuff, you know, to reassure them that they understanding the lessons that's being taught, because that's pretty much what it is a lot of times. You know, I was thinking this and da da da, to get that reassurance, that never being unavailable, right? Because, you know, it's times where I may not be able to pick up right away, but I'm like, okay, give me 5 minutes. And I tell my client, hey, listen, that was my daughter calling from such and such. We need to, you know, we've gotten the lines of understanding together. I need to, you know, get over here to this call. So never just being so consumed with myself and what I'm doing that I just ignore the calls that are being placed upon me by the family. As a mother, as a wife, you know, there is no, I'm too tired to cook, or I'm too tired to give you the pleasures that you desire and deserve because I was out working. You know what I'm saying? You know, I've had that problem before, because that's where I thought, you know, we was matching up. Like I was supposed to be like, well, I'm tired too. You know what I'm saying? So what you saying? It's like, no. So now for me is making home a priority still. I can still be a professional and make home a priority. I can still go out here and slay and make home a priority. You know, it just takes a little bit different putting together for me. And I'm capable of doing that. You know what I'm saying? I have the capability as a creative entity to make a priority. You know, it may mean planning cooking, and can't cook on the spur of the moment. You got to plan the meal so that you know what's going on. You're running the household, so you just incorporate your professional life inside your household running of the business. It's like, okay, I got to plan it out. Now I can't just be on the cuff and just, oh, I don't know what we having for dinner. No, that's a primarily, even if it's takeout, it does not have to always be that I'm cooking, but maybe we gon', because I had this type of situation going on, in lieu of me cooking today, we gonna eat this. Or if I didn't plan well, or my planning didn't go as perfect as I wanted it, then I have to respect my husband enough and know that the expectation and the desire that I have is to want to have his food available when he comes home. Hey, baby, you know, I was, you know, I my plans didn't quite work out, so the dinner gonna be a little delayed. You know, here's something in the meantime to kind of, you know, hold you over. You know, then it gets to, you got to really manage. And so that's kind of where I'm at and how I see the two fitting together.
How do you allow yourself, well, how do you hold yourself accountable as to whether you're doing a good job and in your role as a mother and a wife? And I want to, before I dive into that question, let me just be clear. And I believe we get to hold ourselves accountable, and I believe hold ourselves accountable, and I believe that we get to allow our partners and our children to hold us accountable. You know, we get to be open for feedback. So how do you, if you agree with me, how do you hold yourself accountable? How do you allow your husband to hold you accountable with how you're doing as a mother, how you're doing as a wife, and your children to hold you accountable with how you're doing as a mother?
For myself, one, holding myself accountable, I, like I said, incorporate the business of the household with the business of what I feel I need to do professionally. Meaning I have a tight calendar, you know, and I literally have to put things on my calendar so that I can continue to prioritize them, not because they're not in my heart, because things are time sensitive and I can get wrapped up into what I'm doing. I mean, we all can, because I love what I do. I love helping families secure legacies and making sure that they have everything that they need for their families and what they desire to have. So I really get into that. I love it. It can pull me away to where if I'm not prioritizing the family and I have placed them on my calendar, I may overlap some time that I was like, oh shoot, I should have been doing this. So one is knowing the priorities, knowing what my family needs from me, listening to what they need from me and prioritizing that. Like it could be something as simple as my son asked me, Mom, can you take my clothes to the cleaner? Because he works away from home. It takes him a long time to get home. So he's missing part of most of the day where people would do those types of things. I took his car to get his car oil changed and his tires rotated and things like that. So, coordinating those things, that's a priority. Now I had some other stuff to do, so I just had to kind of reprioritize that other stuff because this is what needs to be done. This is of the household and this is what's of importance.
Let me
I've had
jump,
things-
let me jump over to Qual, Dr. Vital, and ask the question, how do you rejuvenate and celebrate her feminine energy, what she brings to your family?
Mhm. Well, the way I try to do that is to make sure that I acknowledge her and what she's bringing and the value that she brings. And so I will often point out accomplishments that she has that she is just totally missed her.
Mm.
And I will just kind of run it down like, hey, because of you, this child is here and doing this because of you, and you made these connections. Remember, you talked to this person, and now he's on this, and this is version. And remember this that you did for the daughter. And so I will just kind of very carefully pay attention to all of the, the outcomes, because that's part of my role, as a man, to very closely monitor the system to make sure that we're aiming at, our vision. And so, and when I see that and see all that she's doing, I will acknowledge that and show appreciation for that and be spontaneous. Like I will see something that I just want her to have, whether it be jewelry, a plant, or anything that I know that she likes, or clothing that I'm inspired to adorn her with. She may not have said that she wants it, but I'm inspired for you. I want you to have this. So just
Girl, that's beautiful. I wish I could get Quasi to do that.
Wait, I'm
Okay, let me
all
stop.
on the play.
Let me let you continue, my brother. Let me stop. I'm gonna put myself back on mute.
Well, don't put yourself on mute. I think you're still with Quasi because I'm gonna kick the Quasi.
No, he stepped out. He's gone to the next meeting. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And so in the same way, I asked Ama about how she holds herself accountable and how she allows you to hold her accountable. What is your role as a husband, number one, and a father? And how do you hold yourself accountable? How do you allow your wife to hold you accountable? And how do you allow your children to hold you accountable?
Right. Excellent. So I very much, first of all, agree with Dr. Moore Quasi and his sentiments about being a provider, and the protection and security of the family. I think that is fundamental function, for a husband, for a man to do those things. And when those things are done, with the idea of we have a purpose. And for me, purpose extends beyond the individual. It's intergenerational, it's ancestral. And so the way I hold myself accountable is always making sure that I am functioning within, my purpose, and that I have a vision that meets that purpose. And so my role is to do those things that Dr. Moore talked about and make sure that they are culminating to that vision and that purpose. And so I've structured the family in the family activities and the way our pursuits, our individual pursuits, and for them to understand that that's the aim. And so holding Alma accountable. So when we negotiate about what you're doing professionally or otherwise, what time you spend out the house, how responsive you are to the children, it's all to that end. Like, how is it nurturing? How is it benefiting our purpose and vision and aim? And so when something goes outside of that, I'm like, okay, we need to scoop this in. We need to cut this off. Because I think it's an important thing to be said about what Alma was speaking on, not Alma and Andrea. Andrea said that you can't have both things, and I agree with that. And I don't think that what Alma was saying contradict that, because sometimes, because an important thing is that certain things that you got to decide that I just can't do that. I just can't put that on my schedule, because that goes way out of bounds of where we need to be and what I need to provide for my family. So that's how I hold myself accountable. And what I try to do, I think her presence holds me accountable. Like, to be with, she always talk about, to be with this one, you got to be on it. You got to be a man, because when she said she will run rings around, she will. So,
Oh, come on.
so I have to wake up. Listen, I have to wake up knowing daggone it, I'm on it. Because if I'm not, I know that she will be at my heels. So she rarely, if ever, has to say, straighten up and be in line, because I wake up like, okay, let me check. All my checks and systems will go, so I'm on it. So I know, and that her presence itself, is that accountability factor. Like, no, I have to be that man if I'm going to be with this one. I can't shortstop. So that's kind of how she holds, me accountable.
How do you self-correct? And would you talk a little bit about the challenges that you've had, the successes around correction? Because I mean, we're sitting here, we're having a good time right now. We're talking about serious matter, but we're having a good time. None of us are we're not we're not arguing, we're not any of that. But these things are real. Nobody's under the delusion that you and your wife don't argue. Nobody's under the delusion that me and my wife don't argue. The same with Kwesi and Andrea. We all argue. Yes, that's a given. But we're not showing that right now. So what's the corrective process like between you all when somebody's off? You're not at 100% as a husband or father. She checks you. She's not at 100% as a mother or wife. You check her, or you check yourselves. How does that look?
Okay. And that's to me.
Whoever.
So I would like to say that, I know it's going to sound weird, ladies, because we know some things, and we know a lot of things, but rarely do I have to check my husband. And that's just the honest to God truth. Now, I may have been had a misbelief of that, right, in the past. But what it really boils down to is the redirection that is generally needed. And the reason I say that, a leader is not just a leader sometime. A leader is a leader all the time, and in all things. And that's what I had to understand, because I wanted him to lead in this area, and I lead over in this area. You know what I'm saying? And it don't work like that because of how I was trying to do it. He's the overall leader, and I have my dominions in my areas. But at the end of the day, if I have chosen this man, then that means, like what Andrea said earlier, I chose to trust and believe and follow in the direction in which he's leading us. A lot of times it needs redirection from where I am, where I see there's an error, but a lot of times it's an emotional error. It's an emotionally driven error, because when you break it down to principle, it's a straight line. And so for me, I have to know that I am an emotional being, and emotions are fleeting. You know, so that's the thing that I have to always stand with for myself, that I'm an emotional being. That's the way God made me. I love being an emotional being, but also have to understand that my emotions are fleeting. I'm not going to feel the same I feel right now in 10 minutes or 2 hours, you know. And that's when I had to understand that I have to fall back and allow the leadership to step in to help me with the redirection. Now, redirection can be rough or it can be nice and smooth and loving. And so that's for me what he has mastered, the loving redirection, because before it was not loving redirection. You know what I'm saying? It was not loving redirection. So if it ain't loving redirection, then we, you know, it's man, we finna have some things going on in here. So that's kind of where I had to understand, but I also had to understand that I have to come with my highest feminine energy, so I don't be trying to boss up with no masculinity energy trying to get some redirection, because if I do that, it's going to be clashes. But if I come like an orchid, then I'm gonna get treated like an orchid's supposed to be treated. But if I come with some bull horns on my head when it's time for redirection, I'm gonna get knocked around. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna like that. And so that's what I had to kind of understand. So that's my, you know, my understanding and take on that.
Yeah.
Andrea, please share your correction, self-correction, redirect, all of that the process, the culture with you and Kwesi.
Yeah, I co-sign on what they both just said. It's the same dynamic. There's really no redirection with Kwesi a lot. And if it is, I usually point certain things out to him and he'll see it. But I'll give you an example of other those. You know, what Kwesi and I argue about silly stuff. Like, damn it, didn't I ask you to put the toilet seat down again? How many times do I have to ask you? Those are the arguments we have. That's it. But what happened is Kwesi said something to me that I didn't like. I hate it when he tells me to relax or calm down. That's a trigger for me. Don't do that. And I've told him several times, don't say that to me. But he said it to me, so I went off. And then he went off. And then his energy, I came with that masculine energy, Amma, and he came back with it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and he wasn't stopping. He doesn't stop. He's an Aries. He's like a bull in a china shop. So if I'm coming for him, he's coming back 10 times fold. So I had to stop and relax.
Right. Exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know?
Yes.
And I had to say, you know what? Because I mean, he said something to me. I said something to him that he didn't like, and it's my tone of voice. For Kwesi, it's not what I say, it's how I say it. So my tone of voice was off, and I knew it was off, and it triggered him. So then it was back and forth. So it wasn't until I was like, okay, fine. I know what he doesn't like. And I purposely did it because I was just pissed off. So my redirection said, stop the nonsense, calm down, and just apologize. And it was over that quick. You know, our back and forth, we just don't have that anymore. We really don't. And when we did, when we were younger, it was because, well, he's not in here. So, but I know he's going to see the video. But it was because I realized what my role was and accepted it. And that's it. But I tell you this, and I think I said it before, the man is the head of the household, but the woman is the neck, and she can make that head turn any which way she wants.
Well, all right. All right.
Can I add something, you know, to that about the, you know, the redirection? Like, rarely will she have to say, oh, you need to be on this. But when she does, like Andrea said, I quickly see it. So I don't fight it like, oh, no. So there's no value in being like holding a position. Like, I'll see like, oh, yeah, you're right. Or, you know, we were having a discussion or argument, and I took this position, and then because maybe I'm able to articulate and I can dominate, you know, a situation like that. So I'll walk away from the situation, or we'll walk away as though my position was correct. If life comes and shows me like, no, that she was actually correct, I will go back to her and say like, hey, remember that discussion was like, yeah,
Yeah.
this happened. And yeah, you was right. You know, my apologies, and yeah, we'll do, you know, so I will always, you know, like self-correct, even if I, you know, am able to take, you know, a dominant position. It will never, I'm not just going to stay in the wrong course. I will always bring it back to like, hey, yeah, you were right.
You know, and I'll make an example really quick of what he's saying. It just came to me. It was about our son. He has a couple of businesses that he's doing, and I was asking him for his documentation so I could get his taxes filed, and he was like, "Well, Dad told me that I don't need to report this because."
Wait, before you say that, if there's any IRS people on here, this is an academic. This is for
Yes.
academic and entertainment purposes.
Why don't
Okay.
y'all go ahead and give me $1 and you can retain me and we'll go from there.
I got you, sister.
This is just for entertainment purposes. Go ahead.
Yes, yes. So in the entertainment of this conversation, we were, you know, I gave our son some information about what he needs to do to get back to me so that we could file his taxes. He had spoken with his father. His father said, no, you don't need to do that. You know, you don't need to do that. And so when I went to ask for the information, I said, hey, where's this information I asked you about? Oh, well, Dad said that I didn't need to do that because yada, yada, yada. And I was like, okay, I'll talk to your father. So I went and talked to him, and I think I asked you like, so why did you give Bokum that information?
And I told the same thing I told him.
Right.
We're not for academic or entertainment purposes. We're not reporting that. Like, they don't know nothing about them. Why would we report that? Like, like that's silly, you know?
But it turned out that he needed to because it was beneficial to him because basically he had paid an overage in taxes. And, you know, for academic purposes, you know, being in the financial industry, I understood that having businesses and having legitimate write-offs and income earned, that would give him back almost half of the money he paid in taxes.
And so she explained, you know, once she educated me and schooled me on that, I was like, oh, okay. I went back to son, yeah, do what your mama said. So yeah, scratch what I said.
And so my point in bringing it up is that he said no to do this, and he stood on that. I just simply went and had a conversation with him and helped him see it, and he came back and said, yeah, you were right. Not only that, what he said to me was, I really appreciate, you know, the information that you've gone out and
the knowledge that she has very valuable for the family, you know. And so when I did acknowledge her, and this goes back to the other question that you mentioned, how do I show appreciation? So once I said, hey, yeah, you were right, I'm glad you did that, I went on to say, I really appreciate the fact that you have went out and gained this expertise in this area, and it's really helpful and beneficial to the family. I really appreciate it, you know. So I did, you know, acknowledge that.
What you all are sharing it's a really big deal as far as I'm concerned. And the ability to say to our partners, you're right. And to say it out of love. There's a lot of us in relationships that are competing with our partners. There are a lot of us that want to be right. And we want to win instead of we want to confirm and affirm and to give, and to be able to say, you're right. And remember what you said 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you recall what you said 2 weeks ago about, you know, whatever, but you were absolutely right. And I appreciate you sharing that. And I may not have been receptive, or I may have just listened at the time, but I want to let you know how you were right. That's a huge deal. So Andrea, is there anything you might want to say about that? And audience members, the floor is open. You can weigh in. You can, if you have a question, you can raise your hand or drop a note in the chat, just simply saying question, or you can unmute and jump in.
No, whenever Quasi's right, I tell him he's right. I mean, I never have a problem with that. And when I'm right, he usually tells me too. So we're good on that front. I mean, yeah, we're good.
And you acknowledge that it's a big deal also, I'm assuming.
What is the big deal? Saying that you're right or you're wrong?
Yes,
or
to be able to say you're right. To be able to affirm and confirm our partner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody needs affirmations. You know, everybody needs, you know, you did a good job. I mean, that fuels you to want to continue doing a good job, and you like the way it feels, and you like being acknowledged. So, you know, it always helps. It's always good to know that somebody appreciates what you've done and what you bring to the table.
Very nice.
You know, and I would just like to say, you know, in transparency, that that's something that I've struggled with, you know, because I come into the relationship with the understanding that I have to fight to be right.
Mm.
You know, that has caused undue stress and unnecessary challenges, you know. So I am working on that, moving away from having to come in and fight for a position of being right. You
And
know,
yeah, just to add to that, like you know, she will approach a argument or discussion, conversation, and I can tell that she has this idea that I'm saying everything that I'm saying because I want to be right, and I'm trying to manipulate the conversation just to be right. And there's been several times that I have to stop you, be like, listen, I don't need to be right. Like, there's no, that does not have any value. That doesn't have the value that you think that it has for me. Like, I'm not trying to just polish and pop my, if I'm wrong, well, I'm okay with being wrong, you know, and if I am choosing to get right, I'll get right, you know. So being right does not have the same value that it may have for other people, or in her situation has for her. Because growing up, I just was a black hat. I didn't want to be right anyway. So I always rooted for the villain, you know. Yeah, I love Dr. Doom and the League of Justice and all of that, and I love Cobra and the GI Joe. I just always had an affinity for the bad guy, so I never fucked with like, hey, I gotta be right. Like, no, so so that wasn't a thing for me. But that's something like she mentioned that we struggled with.
You know, I know a lot of single women that struggle with that as well. They have to be right.
Mm.
It's innate. It's their right, it's their way, And I'm just like, you'll never have a relationship if that's how you go about it. Or
Andrea,
you'll never have a successful one.
right. Andrea, from a professional woman's place, what do you have relationships with your friends that help you stay on track with staying true to your commitment as a mother, wife, versus the pull of work? And is that important?
I've come to a point in my life where work is work. It's a job, period. That's what it is. It's the means to the ends to get me to the next place. My accolades are nice, but it, it means nothing to me at the end of the day. I mean, and I'm sure a lot of women will say, in comparison to family, you know, it has its place, but I'm at a point in my life where a job is the means to the end. Is it nice to get to the next level? Absolutely. But if I don't, will I be upset? No. But that's because I'm comfortable with my position, and I'm comfortable with the home that my husband and I have made. Now, I have a lot of girlfriends that are not. I have a lot of single girlfriends. You know, I'm thinking, from the time in college, I think Kwesi and I are the only ones that are still married from the jump, from all the people. Everybody's on their second or third marriage or single. I don't think I know anybody. I don't think I do. I mean, I'll ask Kwesi, but I mean, in regards to single women, I mean, what I appreciate though is I see the struggle that they're going through to find a man that they're comfortable with. The dating and oh my gosh, the stories can be a reality TV show. And I wouldn't believe it if I wasn't hearing it from the women that I'm close to. It's hard out there. It's really hard. So, I mean, you know, stick with the devil, you know.
I'm gonna share a little bit of a conversation Kwesi and I have pretty regularly. I might share a frustration of mine, God's God's communication to me that I'm not prepared to deal with something. We talked about it during the last call. And Kwesi may do the same thing. And one of the ways that we most assure, and mind you, we talk about our wives, our relationship. One of the ways that we are definitively going to end that conversation is, and I love my wife. And he'll be like, and I love my wife. And I'm sure Akomfo Ama, your husband, can say, I love my wife. So I'm curious, Akomfo Ama, what do you say about the accountability? Like, do you have people like other professional women or just a community that helps you stay on track with being a professional woman, but also maintaining the proper relationship, as however you determine proper, with your husband and family?
Unfortunately, no. And I say unfortunately because if you all remember the last time I spoke, I talked about not having a real sisterhood that shared the values that you shared, that you can, you know, your tribe, your group. So no, they're either going to be single or they are almost single. They in a relationship where both of them are independent households under the same roof with their own, this is mine and that's yours, so that is a challenge. And that is something that I am seeking to develop because it is so important, that we define for ourselves and cultivate our beliefs that we want to hold on to and not be inundated with all of this societal push that's going on with all this foolishness. That's the hardest part, that you don't have a group of people who that can hold you accountable and be true and tell you the truth. Like, girl, you tripping. You know what I'm saying? Like Andrea said, no, you fix your man's plate, like you on some old BS over there. You know what I'm saying? You really over there bugging out. No, so unfortunately, no. So, it really just kind of lies within here. Of course, I can call my sister Andrea and things, but as a group of professionals in the same profession and trying to do that, no. And that's so unfortunate. I think that's a very necessary, because if that was the case, we'd have more successful families, we have more happy relationships, and we wouldn't have so much struggle within the household of trying to compete, for a position that, to be honest, you don't want that position. I don't want to be the person responsible for the security and I don't want that position. I really don't want that position. I
Yep.
don't want it. I mean, I don't want them stresses.
Mhm.
When you really listen to some woman or that is single or whatever, that ain't what she wants. And I don't want it, So I need to be able to acquiesce to that from a verbal to a how I interact and what I put out there that says that I don't want that. I can't say I don't want that and then, like my husband say, go into my Barry White baritone voice, talking to him about something. He like, this ain't matching up. You know what I'm saying?
The bass in your voice not matching up your cute face.
Right.
It's
Oh
different.
man. Okay. All right. Before we go, this I want to rap right now, but I gotta ask this question.
Y'all, we keep it real over here. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna ask this, Dr. Vital, in all your work as a psychologist, have you ever, and maybe even we'll keep it with the work side. Have you ever seen it where a woman is too educated or smart to be attractive?
To be attractive.
Yes.
I have definitely seen that, and it not necessarily always, in a professional setting, and sometimes it's with colleagues. Like I have a colleague who, so we see sex offenders, right? Individuals who committed sex offenses, and she was commenting on one of the the individuals that in her care, and how he's still getting dates. I mean, that's a hell of a label or tag to have on you, sex offender, and still be able to get out here and date. And she's like, this is blowing my mind how they are just getting these dates and getting these relations. She's like, what am I doing wrong? Like what's going on here? Like, I hadn't dated in 10 years. And when she said that, I began to reflect. I'm like, but you are very, very masculine. You know, I said that in myself, like, you're very masculine. And she's a very good professional, very sharp psychologist, but the way she presents it, it's just not attractive. It's not what a man would desire. It's like, okay, bro, you got it. You know, so it's like, you look confident, you can handle yours. I don't need to, because what, you know, just kind of speaking to how you opened up, one of the greatest things that a woman can do is, as Andrea says, turn a man's head. That is a woman's power. And it's the most fundamental power, to be able to turn that head. You know, because if a knife, so I deal, you know, in my spiritual, you know, culture, I deal with the knife, you know, and if the blade would be comparable to that masculine energy, that steel, that ability to cut and make an effect and a change in the world, but that feminine part would be that handle. Like years ago, my wife and my kids bought me a decorative knife for my I think it was for my birthday or Father's Day, and it just kind of hung outside of my shrine room. And for years I've passed this knife, you know, and just like, okay, it's a nice decorative piece. But one day it hit me, and I understood the imagery of the knife. So it's a nice blade, and the handle of the knife is the handle of a woman. So the handle is shaped like a woman, and she's holding like the globe or the world over her head. And then one day it struck us, I get it. Like, that is the discernment that one has to have, the reflection, because woman, like if woman is water, you can look into water, see a reflection. So woman represents that ability to have you reflect and see yourself. And from seeing yourself, you make refinements. And you cannot cut until you have measured what they say 10 times if you're going to cut correctly. So that woman is that power of that handle to direct that masculine energy. So as Andrea says, it's very potent that she is the power to turn that head. And the greatest thing that a woman can do is inspire a man. She inspires us, you know, into action, you know. And I forgot the original thing I was responding to, but I will say this, that, you know, she will inspire me, you know, and she will inspire me to, you know, the actions that I take. What was the original question? Because I want to make sure that I hit it. Do you remember the original question?
I don't.
Anybody? I'm sorry. I think you're around the world.
It was about a woman being too masculine,
Oh, too masculine,
making her
attractive.
unattractive. And if I might just jump
Actually,
in with a comment.
Auntie, before you say that, it wasn't about being too masculine. It might have, you know, that was kind of cold, but it was about being too smart or too educated. Yeah.
And just before you talk, Nana, I would say to bring it back in, it is that feminine. If I see you as too masculine, it's not inspiration. And that's where I was going with that. I'm not inspired, and so you can't turn my head in the way, as Andrea said. Like, if you say, oh, I see your tears and that's important to me, I'm up and I'm ready to go. But if you come with it, be like, okay, you got it, handle it, bro. So, you know, so that's, you know, how that works.
Auntie, you were saying?
So I was saying a couple of things. One of the things with the sister, I'm assuming she was a woman of color. Your coworker that says, why can't she? Yeah.
Yes.
Traditionally, here in America, we've been trained to be that. Like that's the only way you can be successful. You have to have those characteristics to be successful. So she's been trained. She doesn't know that she's being overly masculine. And I think that it is at those points that we need to say something. I'm not saying getting into an argument with her or anything like that, but you know, can I just share something with you? Maybe this is the reason, just to give her the seed of thought so that she can then begin to say, well, wow, what does that mean? And then she will go on her own adventure, let's say, to figure out what does this mean that I'm overly masculine, not feminine enough. And the other piece is that there are many of us in the culture who have been married for a very long time who share the same views. I think part of it is cultural. If you came from a Caribbean family, you were raised like that. You knew how to be a mother and a wife and so on. I know I was trained that way. So yes, we do need maybe to put together a group so that people will know who they can go to have conversations about relationships. And we have to start teaching our children from very, very young. I admire what you all are doing with your kids. They will raise their children the way they were raised. And so the venture has already begun, but we need to double down on it to move it even more further.
Oh, Madasi, thank you.
Yeah, I definitely totally agree with that. And I do think that is the issue with her. Like I know the colleague, I don't know her well enough probably to spark that conversation, but if there ever is an opportunity, I definitely would kind of give her that wink and nod, like, hey, you might want to consider this, or being able to code switch is very important, you know, because if a man wants to feel needed, we all, whether we admit it or not, we want any woman that makes you feel like you need to put on a cape, you over there. You know what I'm saying? You was like, what, you need me? So you think I got what it takes? so I mean, super's up, you know, so, you know, and that's what that turning that head. And that's why I, you know, went on that long tangent to say that is the inspiration that a woman will provide. She can get you to fight her battle. And that's a power. That's a hell of a power.
I have on my computer a quote from Booker T. Washington where he said, few things help an individual more than to place responsibility on him and to let him know that you trust him. Auntie Amadama, are you there? Auntie Amadama, so I know you have a call that I believe.
I'm sorry, I'm walking down the street, so you might hear a lot of traffic.
Okay. I believe you have a call that you do for women. Would you share about that if I'm correct?
A call?
Yes. Okay, I'm not correct. I thought you did a call for women periodically.
Oh yes, a women's circle, you mean?
Yes, yes.
What do you want to know about it?
I mean, we're talking about building community around.
I'm on the way to a circle of sorts now at Restoration.
Okay, okay. So we're talking about building community that reinforces and supports women, and the same goes for men, but particularly we're talking about women right now with staying on track. Do you have any resources?
No, but I want to say I was thinking along the same lines of what Ama Insia said. We should be thinking 7 generations down. And when we have certain behaviors in our family, our children see that and they pass it on to their children. And I think that's how we're going to save our community and our people. But we have to be willing to go against the status quo, because the status quo here is divide and conquer. And that's not helping us. Did you all hear me? And I have to go because I'm supposed to be on a panel and I got stuck in traffic. I think I got stuck in traffic so I could hear this conversation.
We heard you loud and clear.
Yes, no, we heard you, Madasi.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Akom Kese's lecture series, and we've been talking about Black femininity in America, the educated Black woman. Along today's journey, we've discussed affirming our partners, we've discussed staying on track instead of doing the coulda, woulda, shoulda dance, and we've also discussed the roles of husbands and wives juxtaposed with being a professional. Thank you to our panel, and thank you, audience, for joining us today. You have been absolutely great. I hope that you've had as much fun as I've had hanging out with today's ensemble. And as always, I wish for you to walk away from this conversation with a heaping helping of useful information that'll help you create a relationship that's as powerful and loving as possible. Please let us know what you thought of today's show, and by dropping us a note at akoncenter.org. That's akoncenter.org. You can certainly leave a message in the chat if you're on the call. And it has been an absolute pleasure. Everyone's welcome to stay on and chat a little bit. We're not rushing off. Consider this the everybody standing up in the room and just kind of milling around. Is there anything anyone else wants to say? The panel, we're off the formality. The panel's done, the program's over. Anything that panelists want to say?
I think we should get together and maybe put together like maybe just a host of couples. And yeah, I guess you and your wife can be a part of these couples, that we should just start just having conversations. It doesn't have to be a specific topic or whatever, just talk. And
Yeah,
I'm sure that the conversation will spiral. And I mean, if we can encourage or let young people know, these are the obstacles that you may face. And this is, some of the things that you can do to divert yourself from those obstacles, or be able to clear those obstacles clearly, and, just develop a better relationship and improve our communities. Because it's always good to hear from couples that have been together, because, you've gone to the ups, the downs, the side by side, you've been through it all and you're still standing. And I don't think we have enough of young couples for our children to see that there are many still standing, and how you can attain to be where we are.
Thank you.
I think that's something to do.
No, I definitely agree, and definitely will be reaching out to you so we can get that going.
Sounds good to me.
We need that. We definitely need that.
Our
Even
us old
people in
couples
the
out here
audience,
too. Don't forget
that's what I
about
said.
us.
That's what
Yeah.
I was just saying. That's what I was just saying. Couples
Yeah.
that are here
Couples-
that are in the audience too, let us know
Yeah.
you want to be a part of this, and any other couples. We would gladly welcome, gladly.
Yeah, because you guys have the knowledge that we're aspiring to. So, you and Uncle Simon have been there.
And I just want to say I appreciate this conversation, because it gives the opportunity to see some people, know us and have seen us, and some people ask, what's the secret sauce? And sometimes, it's good for people to see that there is no secret sauce, but there is determination and struggle. And that determination
And that's
is what really gets you through. Not that we're perfect and we do all this. No. We just determined to get through, and to make it through together.
Mhm.
And there's some pillars, there's some basics that you can adhere to help you get through it.
Indeed.
That's true. Yeah, that's
Very
true.
much agree with that.
Mhm.
Indeed. Yep.
Well, I thank everybody for coming on. I do have to mosey on. I have another place to be, and I have to travel there. So
Ditto.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining.
Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.